We'll try to explain the Indian behemshach to what the Maamar is coming to. What's Mifilda is bringing. The Nekudas Advarim is that Fidika is here to explain the ilu of the Indian of the Maila and Ketz, which that's ultimately the Indian Eitzar. Huh? Was that wrong? Huh? But that's ultimately the too close, too far.
No, it's too squishy.
Good. So. And that's ultimately the Indian Eitzah. So I'm saying the Bachar needs space. So ultimately the Indian Eitzah, Chaparayim before you have no space. So the Indian Eitzah, that was just it's not applied language. So the Indian Eitzah Lamaila that the Indian Eitzah Lamaila that the Indian Eitzah which the Melech is Mevazviz, the Shul Nitzach and Amalchama. So the Nekudas Advarim is that Lamata Mata in Tachlis is that even in the Shtalshalos, even Lamata Mata, there's the Hisgalus Ein Sof. That's the Nekudas Advarim, that the fact that the Eid Ein Sof Velakus is not only that the Eid itself is Ein Sof in the realm of Eid, but also the way, also in Elam is, there's expressions and there's the Hisgalus Ein Sof. That's in the Lamata Mata and the Tachlis. The Tnuas Hagili, which there is near that. The Tnuas Hagili is Blikvol. Mala and the Ketz is different in you. The fact that the Eid is Beis Almos, this Almos Eid. And Adrab, this Almos Eid is nach a hechere ili that expresses a deeper ili in the Eid, and that's the Indian Ha'etzim is expressed in the fact that the Eid is Beis Almos. So this Kama Pratim, the Indian Almos. There's the Etzim Indian, the Etzim fact that the Eid could be in a Eifin of Helim, that's already shows in the fact that the Eid is higher than the Gdarim of Gilui. If the whole Metzias Eid would be Indian Lakus comes be Gilui, then he wouldn't be able to be present, even though he's in a way that he's not expressed. So the fact that the Eid could be in a state of Beis Almos, that itself is connected to the Ilya Eid, that the Eid is the Gadlus Ha'etzim, which is higher than the ramifications of Gilui. And then, but Pratis, what the main ufta that I was speaking this Maamar is that Nekudas Helim is that even not that the Eid could be Beis Almos, and even mitzad the Geder of Helim, also there is Shaykh is connected to the Ein Sof, which we'll see in the Hemshel, the Nekudah brings from the market. Well, Lamar Zen where we're holding now, so we'll see where do we get? Ubezem Betartzim, yeah, that's what we're holding. There's an upper shulis here, so we have the Akopanam. So lifnat tzimtzum the Eid Ein Sof, the Eid Abligvul was begilim. And Mele is not fizas makim to the Metzias Eilamis. Lo haya makim to the Metzias Eilamis. Ubezeh haya tzimtzum. What's the pshat tzimtzum? Tzimtzum Eid Legani. Tzimtzum derech siluk. That is Galus Eid was in ganzen nisalim. Asher lechen nikra makim cholol reikon uponi. That there's no gilui. Means it became a makim where there's no Galus Eid. Yeah, the Rebbe speaks. The Gabi Etzem, it's not Shaykh said there's a Mokim which is Pony from the Etzem. The Gabi Atzmos and the Dargas which are higher than it's not Shaykh said there's a Mokim which is Pony from their Indian, because the fact that Atzmos is Nimtza has nothing to do with the Gdarim of Gilui. The Chatchilas Mitzvah doesn't relate to the Gdarim of Gilui. So the fact that Goli Behergish, the Mekabel is not Margish the that doesn't have any ashpa on his presence there. Moshe said Gedra Eir is his Galus Amor, in a place where there's no Gili, in a place where he's not expressed, in a place which results in the fact that the Eir is Beis Almos. So that Mokim is Pani from Eir, that Mokim is Shaleki in Eir. Mokim Pani, there's a Mokim, Pani is a Bereka Machol. V'acharkach, and Mitzadem Megafon, the Friedrich Rebbe's Lashon of the Maamar is, let's just see the Friedrich Rebbe's Lashon of the Maamar, because it's in the Geda. Shas was in Pasha Trainers of Ablikvol, so the Mitzias, the Anoch is, the given is, the reality is that there's a Lukus, and the whole music of Mitzias is not Shaykh, is not Shaykh. They had Simson, there was this Almoser. The Mela, what's Nergesh of Pshitas Makam Makabel? What's the Hergish? The Hergish Makam Makabel is the Pchinas HaYeshes HaMitzias. The Pshitas, the given, the reality itself is as that there's a Mitzias. Not this Pashas Lukus. There's a Mitzias. That's the Gedra Makim B'Murgish. What's Nirgash in this Makim is Mitzias and Yeshes. And the Lakus, Acharkach Nimshach Kav Kotzer V'Chod, Kav Kotzer, but that's already B'Derech Chidush. Means the reality itself, how does the Nivra sense? What's the natural sense of the Nivra? What's the given of the Nivra is that there's a Mitzias and Yeshes, there's a reality outside of the Yeshes. And then there was the Amshach, there's a Lakus B'Schach, there's Nimshach Lakus in Velt. But upon it, that's the Chuf getan through Tzimtzum, that the Bashan Nirgash Pshittis of Chinas HaYeshes V'Mitzias. So Nirgash, Hergish HaYeshes, is Pani V'Reikon from the Indian Eir. The Indian Eir is this Galus, that the Hergish is that Hulavadi Uvein Zalasi. Simpson, there was this Siluk Eir, is in Gilui Herzach Nish Elukus. So what's the Gilui? What's the Hergish? The Hergish is Yeshus HaMitzias. And this inyan that Yeshus Metzius is a mokim poni, it's vacant from Elokus, that's only the guy with inyan agilu. But the guy with inyan etzim, so it's not shaykh to say that there's a mokim that because it's hergish is yesh, so mainly is poni from the etzim. Because the etzim is being here is not dependent on the regesh goli of the mokim amakab. Okay. So that brings now 3 pratim. When I get to the inyan of aniyah violation nisi. Let's first see the shaila and then we'll see the hemshchad word. V'zeh metartz mashakos of aniyah violation nisi. Steht in the Elokus, there's no shinui. Al der as steht the lashon wie steht in there in this Maamar atohu achalini vrelam atom shnivrelam. The famous shaila that what's var svara what given that the Eibishter once he created the world he ceased to exist. You have to say the same way you existed before the world is created, he still exists after the world is created. Why should we think that there is a variant ace? But the Pshat of this is that the same way the Ata was lifnei kedim shnivrelam, the same way the Ata is mishnivrelam. And the shaila is the chori shini gadol b'yeser. The chori is there's a shini gadol b'yeser. The etzim in not tzimtzum. So first the air was begili, and now the air is in a different mode. And there's the hergish, there's this pony from Gilead. That's the Chodashine. And then v'chagach b'riyas ha'elam is the etzim in abriya. We're not going to go into all the pratim here. The etzim in b'riyas ha'elam is also that l'chatchila. Let's say there was a whole of. So first there's a shine in the way the air exists. First he was present in one way, and now there's a mokim, so to speak, where the air is present in a more limited way, in a different way. And the second shine is the very fact there's a mitzias. Livnat since there was no nisin smuggle for a mitzias. There was no vel. There isn't a sense from Mitzias. There's come a nekudas and chsidis when they get to what the nature of the shini is. But let me send the nekudah. Ad can move a little by Maamar lamata mata ati tachlis. So the shaila is so vi for entering the shaila b'nei violation is. So that brings a kama pratim. And the nekudah of the teretz is the first prat is the inyan atzimtzum. Inyan atzimtzum explains why the inyan ais havos is not getting many shinis. So what's the first thing? Das bringt für mittel Rebbe that l'chol in a woman ich erim leisha nisi that ekshayeshin I feel malchus das siar in malchus malchus kalalam. There he says that you say malchus is mahava elimus. Which malchus mahava elimus is malchus that silus is mahava biyah. With which kayach is malchus that silus mahava biyah? That's sof kol sof the sherish of malchus that silus is the malchus the insof kameshu lifnat tzimtzum. It's not a separate the kayach for malchus that silus lahavis elimus biyah is all mitzad its sherish and malchus the insof. And the mittel Rebbe is Meir that before this perek. That when you get to Ratzim, when you get to Chachme, that even though there's the Shtashlos of Chachme, Lamata Mata, but it's all one most of Chachme. It's nicht kein Basundere Inyan. So Meir L'Shaylish, Malchus Chalifnei Tzimtzum, Zeo Malchus Kalilam. It's not the Pshat that there is Mitzad Malchus Dein Sof, there's Netzel a different Pchina of Malchus. It's the Keach of Malchus Dein Sof, which is Sof Kol Sof, Nimshach in a way, which is Mahava Elam. So it's Malchus Dein Sof, which is Nimshach in a Eifim, which is Mahava Elam. So L'chor is a Shini. Gamel Machi Tachti. V'im Kein Sheyesh Shini Malchus Dasiya, and there's Kama V'Kama Shinuyim. So let me understand the erste Sache. Metaritz. Kivan shano emrim shayetzim zum asher bezeh she'elam onos ina di leva'olu lechen ein ze pel shini. What's the nekudas hadvarim? That when is there shaykh to see a shini? If you have an alien and you have a dover hanishpa min alien, so if the hashpa, let's say in this case the hashpa nimshach ba'elam is lamer onamin that there is shinuyim in the area nimshach ba'elam. Let's say there's changes. That malchus datzilus, let's say, so you have it's in a mode of his havos, you have in a mode that's it's mufshit from his havos. There's in area of the which is nimshach and vel. There's a tnu of chesed, there's a tnu of gvura. Let's say that the amshachas of the way it's nimshach and vel or in a pashta even. You have in vel to daim tzemech chayim medaber. So medaber is mekabel more chayes than tzemech is mekabel, and tzemech is mekabel more chayes than tzemech is mekabel. So there's a shinuyim in the degree of chayes which is nimshach every nivra. Every nivra is mekabel different degree of chayes. That's in of shinu. You have so you have the musik of a lakus is there's different modes on the way of the chayes of is nimshach. That's shinu. Shinu means that there is different nuschayes of how you take the yidin. There's different versions of how you take a certain yidin. You have the moshlach chassidus when you get to Rav Talmud. So the Rav is mashpia seichot haTalmud. So there's the way the Rav understands it, and then there's the way he explains it in order for a Talmud, which is on a lower level than him, to be able to understand the yidin. So the Talmud doesn't understand the yidin the way the Rav understands it. The Talmud understands it differently. So now you have two versions of how to take Seichel HaRav. You have this idea, the way that the Me'ach HaRav understands it, which is in a much more Edel higher Eifin, and you have the same concept the way the Talmud understands it. That's in a lower Eifin. So there's Shinuyim, there's two versions of how to take the concept of the Rav. So there's another course. The Eivish himself, the area himself, let's say, is Blikvol, but in Daimim, in Tzemech, and Elamis, they're not Kalim for that it should be married the Blikvol of Elokus. How much is B'chinas HaMedaber able to handle? How much Chayis V'kiyum, Chayis Aliki, is nimtzam b'chinas medaber, a limited amount of chayes, how much the medaber is able to handle.
And in Chai is noch niedriger. So you have Shinuyim, different versions, different efanim of how Elokus is misgal. That's the Chol in Shini. And the evaluation means that the Eivisher is an Ekudas Apshitis, which is not shaykh to say that it should be different versions, different ways of how to take the Indian. But again, in the Marshal, when you get to Rav Talmud, so now you don't have, you see the Pashta Chassidus, even once the Rav explained the concept in a way the Talmud is able to understand it. So first of all, now there's two ways, two versions of understanding this Svara. And the Talmud's version stands independently for itself. That's in of Shini. And the Rav had to create it in this Kama Pratim in this Shini of Rav Talmud. The Kudas Advarim is that now you have Kama Ifanim of how to take the Seichel Rav. So the Chorah is a Shini. Lechatchila, the Seichel Rav is only, let's say, in the Mayach Rav. Only he understood it. And now there's another way of the way this is being expressed. So the Shaila is, in the Chayas and Lekis, the way it's Nimshach and Velt, there's Kama V'Kama Shini. Every Nivra is Mekabel the Chayas in a different Eifel. There's more Chayas V'Kiyum in Tzva Shemayim than there is in Tzva Aretz. The Chorah that's Shini. That's the Shaila. So them Zok, the first teretz is that this Havas is Idea Tzimtzum. Shachas Chayas and Lekis and Velt is Idea Tzimtzum. So what's bringing this aris? That what's Nimshach and Velt has no erech, doesn't contain any percentage of the Ein Sof of Elokus. So the Gabi the Ein Sof, the Metzias HaTachton is not Teves Makam at all. That's the first push, the first Nekudas of any evaluation. Even though the Shinuyim and the Shtalshalos, the whole Metzias HaShtalshalos is Kolochshiv, has no Tfisas Makam the Gabi the Eli. When a Shaykh says Shinui, you say the Marshal of Rav Talmud. So you have the idea the way that Rav understands it, and I have the idea in a limited form, in a limited version. Wie the Talmud versteht this. That's Shinui. Mashiach, if the Elyon is Blikvol and the Tachton is Gvul, Gvul Gabi Blikvol has no Tfisas Makam. So Sat Pshat, you have the Inyan of the Rav in a different way. The Inyan of the Rav is Ein Sof. The Tzimtzum of Uvgetan that it was Nimshach and Aif, and that's Shalei Be'erech Legani, the way the Inyan is Lifnei Tzimtzum. Vi Vertas Idei Tzimtzum is not a Shaila, but the Nekuda is the Erech, they say the relation between the Hamshach and Vel, Legabi, the way it is Lifnei Tzimtzum, there is no comparison at all. That's why Tzimtzum Derech Silu. There's no similarity between the the way it's Nimshach and Vel, to the way it is Lifnei Tzimtzum, Ein Sof. If the HaNimshach has no tfisas makom klal, has no erech, has no comparison to the the way it is different at tzimtzum. So what's kaviyachol going on in the shinuyim which happens the mislavish is not pel any shinui in the in such different at tzimtzum, because it's nothing of him is there. There's nothing of ein sof in the chayes that becomes an eifin of gvul. The chayes shebegvul is batal betachlis to the ein sof, has no tfisas makom at all. That's the erste Zach. So if it would be Shalei Adi Tzimtzum, die Mekubalam Sam gehalten, that the Ramak Le Yodem in a Tzimtzum, Eret gehalten that Amshachas Elokus in Welt is not through a Tzimtzum Derech Siluk. What does it mean that it's not through a Tzimtzum Derech Siluk? It means that there's some form of comparison, there's some form of relation between the Ein Sof to the which is Nimshach in Welt. So then, if the which is Nimshach in Welt contains a certain percentage or a certain dimyon to the Ein Sof Shalifnei Tzimtzum, so now there's two versions of this nekuda. You have the way the Indian is expressed in the Eifin of Blikvul, and you have the way this Indian is expressed by Eifin Mukbul. By Eifin Mukbul, Gufet is Kama V'Kama Eifan. That's the Chor Indian Shalshini. But once you say Dam Shachas Elukus in Velt, Adi Tzimtzum means that the Elyon is totally not expressed in Dam Shachim. It's not that it's expressed in a very limited way. If it was expressed in a very limited way, then it's Shini. That means that the Tachton is another version of that Indian in a much more lower Eifin. We're saying that the Tachton doesn't express the Elyon at all. The Elyon was Nistalik Legani. He's Bechlan, the Eira Blikvul is not Meir in a limited way, Lachar Tzimtzum. It's another Indian, so to speak. Tzimtzum Derech Siluk, and the Amshachas Ha'er, which is Lachar Siluk, is not a chelik, it's not a me'in, has no dimi to the way it is different Tzimtzum. So Meir Eira Lin Bertish Mishlan, and either the Shiloim and the Amshachas Elukus and Velt, the Metzias, the whole Metzias Ha'elamis has no Tfisas Mak. Legavi the Blikvul, the whole Gedra Gvul doesn't exist, has no Tfisas Mak. And the fact that Elokus relates to Gvul doesn't express him at all. He's not a part of it. So he's not Mishtana. His Indian bleibt in even for the stuff in Blikvul. There's no Shini involved. So what's the beard of Aniyah violation Nisim inside this Indian? That the Metzias Ha'elam is Kolochshiv, has not Tfisas Smokim Legabi there. And so it doesn't, the reality, you say, a Pashta Dugma, you say that in a Svara there's no colors, there's no green. You can't say there's a green Svara, a yellow Svara. Or a square Svara or a circle. Or a circle Svara. In Svaras, there's no concept of green and yellow and circle. So there's no concept there, so the fact, it's not going to be Meshanim. Legabi, the Erin Safa Blikvul, all the Shinuim of Gvul are Kolochshiv. They don't exist. You're saying that the Ein Safa is Blikvul, Gefinter Zechumedum. And Gefinter Zechumedum, not that he comes in a limited way. Because his Ein Safa, you can't be Magbal. Not that there's, so the fact that he comes in this form, he comes in that form, is not, he doesn't relate not to this or not to that form. Because he has Ein Sav Ba'amitis, but mainly is a Rekol Mokim. Not that he's Misyachis, not that that he comes Be'erech and he relates to the Mokim. So the fact that Elokus comes from Eifin of Agbala, that doesn't express his Muhos, and doesn't express his way of being present with it. And they're Kolachshav, they're not Teves Mokim. That's the Ersh Debir. Amazon. So that brings that means that the Hamshachin Vel has no Erech. Ilav Olol mean that the Olol, the Davar Hanimshach from the Makir, is the Chilek HaTachton of the Ilah as Mislabish in the Olol. You have the Mashal of the Seichel Lamidus is Ilav Olol. Means a mensch versteht dass die Sache is good. As a result of the fact you understand that this Indian is a Geschmack Ezah, so you're Nis'erer with a Midas Abba towards the Indian. In the Midah is Nirgash a little bit of the Seichel. What is a person like? A person likes the good that the Seichel came to the understanding, came to the realization that this thing is a Geschmack Ezah. And to the goodness that Seichel understood, the Av is Nimshach to that time. So in the Midah is Nirgash to Seichel. So you have the way the Seichel is Meir b'Mayach, and you have the way the Seichel is Nirgash b'Leiv in the Midah. It's not in the same degree. The Eif and the way Seichel is Nirgash in a person's Mayach is in a much more of a higher degree than the Maskonas Seichel, which is Nirgash b'Leiv. But it's Ilav or Machshava and Dibur. Now Dibur is the same Mahus of Eis, it's just more Na'akshama Dikayv. So it's the same Indian on a lower Eif. That's Ilav. So in Ilav Ol, Kanzner Zagan so that's already an Indian of Shini. You have the Eli in the way he is Mufshit from the Tzir of the Ol, the way he is in the Ilah, and you have the Eli in the way he is Nimshach and Mislabish and Behesim to the Metzias Ol. That's already a Shini. And al derech zeh, the Shinuim which the Ol goes through affects Saf Kol Saf the Ilah. Because if the Ol is the Dibur HaMachshava, these Aces which are in Dibur stem from the Aces HaMachshava. Aces HaMachshava, the Aces are in a more Edelayv. The Aces through Nimshach, through Eish Tashel, they come in a more Grabbayv. But they're still the same, it's still Aces. It means there's still an aspect of Machshava which is expressed in Aces HaDibur, but in a different Aces. And al derech zeh, there's Shinuim in Aces HaDibur. Aces HaDibur is Mischalik, let's say. Much stronger Eschalkos in Aces HaMachshava. That Eschalkos is also Payel a Machshava, because Machshava relates to this Eschalkos. If Machshava was in ganzen Mufshit from the Indian of Eschalkos, then there wouldn't be able to be Aces in the Eifin of Eschalkos. The Aces are Moshesh and Machshava. The fact that there could be Aces in a way of Eschalkos Legamri, that means that the Indian Aces Bim Kaidam aren't in Shelo that Eschalkos Batachlis. If the Gabi Aces Bim Kaidam, there's no concept of Eschalkos Klal, so how could the Musik of Aces be expressed in the Eifin of Eschalkos? So that is if you say that I'm Shachas Chayes Lukus in Welt. There is a Lukus Ablikvo, and then through a Tzimtzum, a Bissel von der is Nimshach in Welt, and in Welt it comes in the Eifin of Eschalkos. They may more, it's a Meach less. If there's a Yachas between the Chayes Lukus, the way it is Ve'etzim, to the way it's Nimshach in Welt, so first it does Gufas Hashim. You have the Chayes, the way it's Mufshit from the Geder of Vul, and you have the Chayes, the way it's Nitzir of Vul. And then the Shinuyim of Welt are Prayal Shinui in the Elyon. Because its Chayes is being expressed in this lower Eifin. So that means that there's some, the Shinui in the Eschalkos is a Metzias Legabe the Elyon. If it's a Metzias Legabe the Elyon, then there's Shinui. Then the Shinuyim in the Olul are Safkos Shinui, also in the Ilah. So the Rav understands something a certain way, but is able to express his Svara, the two Talmidim. Each Talmud understands it differently. Versteht das Edeler. But if his Svara could also come in a Eifin, in the world of Eschalkos, that means that this Svara is not Shayla, that it could be expressed through the form of Eschalkos. That means that this Svara is nice, could also be in a divided way. That's the enough Shini.
Does he have to bring that verse HaKadosh before this whole thing?
Okay, we'll see. We'll see what's the... I said about last time about that, but hell, let's go through these Sibiurim, it's very clear, some pratim. Yeah, but there's a idea. Means when you say Ilah Ba'olul there's an alien and a tachtin. There's a Midas and Seichel, and Midas is not the expression of Seichel. Midas is a different Mitzias which is affected by Seichel, which is mishabit through Seichel. Even there's a Musik of Shini, because it's not in the same Eifin as Shefa. Shefa is the same Indian, but you have the Indian the way it is by the Rab, and you have this Indian the way it is in a lower Eifin. That's much more of a Indian of Shini. Mashegam Ilah Ba'olul, the Seichel Mitzadatzme is taken, Seichel is not Midas. But you have the Indian Aseichel, the way it's Nirgash, and the way it's taken by a different Indian. But there's also Musik of Shini. Pratim, there's Shefa is more the Indian of Shini than Ilah Ba'olul. זהו עדיק מה שמשתמש בלשון ער. שהוא לישלוס in the בכלל, the time for was משתמש בלשון ער is that in is galus is others לגבי the yachas of ער לגבי the mor. What's that? Why do we use the lashon er? We want to bring out that Amshachas Chayes Elokus, the fact that Elokus comes in the of Hergish. It's not that there is two Eifanim, you say, das darf man echt verstehen der Wort, but even called the Kodesh Advarim is, if the Musig of the Parshas Advarim, you'd say, the etzem is beyond his expression, higher than being nirgash. And then there is the fact that the etzem could also be in a way that is nirgash, that is meir b'gilui. Gilui is a lower way of something being present. You have something being present in atzmis the gaifen, which is not mugbal, not limited to any form of. He's higher than his galus. And you have the Indian, the way it's expressed b'gilui. It's expressed b'gilui. It has to come in some type of mizdas margish. It's in some type of experience, some type of hergish. That's a shinu. So that if we're saying that there's the Indian, the way it is be'etzim, the Indian, the way it is b'gilui, that's called an under shefa. Shefa means you have the Indian in one eifin, you have the Indian in a lower eifin. The eid is the art of avad. The musik of eid is that the hashpa has no yachas, is not a percentage of the elyon. That's I'm going to say this. But let me then I want to first go through the hemshech advarim to see what the point is, and just stand sich auf jeder prat. The elam knows this in the beifin yeah. That eid is the art of avad. And it doesn't. It's not the pshat that you have two ifan and how the Indian of a lakus is. You have a lakus in the ifin be'etzem, and you have also the way a lakus comes in the ifin be'ifin gilui. The gilui has no tfisas makan klal the gabi the etzem. The gilui is art of avad. Doesn't express at all. It doesn't capture the muhusa etzem altogether. It's via zifaran gilui. We're saying something else. Since the etzem is not mugbal, so he's not limited to be an ifan of etzem. The etzem could also be an ifan of gilui. It's not that there's two ifanim It's not that there's two versions how to take this etzem. There's the mustik of alakus, the way it is in atzmis the gaifin, and there's the mustik of alakus, the way he comes within the realm of gilui. There's one ikudah etzem. There's one ikudah of alakus. This ikudah is not mugbal in any tzir, therefore it could also be begilui. It's not by Rav Talmud. You don't say that the seichel Rav is not limited, therefore it could also be in a way that Talmud understands it. We're saying there's the seichel Rav is one way of understanding the Indian, and then you have the Indian the way it's in a lower way, the way that Talmud understands. It's two separate inyan. Mashiach in the Nukud of Eir is there's one etzem. The Indian Agili is not a mahuz davar from the Elyon. The Indian Agili is mitzad the head ragbal of the makir can reichestein begili. The Elyon is bekannt mit dem Indian. Let me get a bit weiter. It's the Indian. What do you mean Yechelis? This is the Indian. When you get that's the Indian b'fnei. If it's nicht the earth to learn the chiluk in v'shef, I'm saying it's a whole Indian chassidus. I'm just saying b'fnei klali the word. The nekudas advarim is that the air has no tfisas makom legabi the etzem. It's not what I'm trying to bring out is nachamol the seichel Rav Talmud. You have the idea the way the Rav understands it. You have the idea the way the Talmud understands it. The idea the way the Talmud understands it is stands independently. You have a concept, and there's two ways of understanding this concept. You can understand it in an edel eifin, you can understand it in a lower eifin. And if you can ask the Rav, if the seichel that the Talmud understands, does it resemble the svara that it resembles it in a mitzvah in the cave? Gilui has no erech to the etzem. His galus the gilui hamaker, the gilui is gvul, let's say, and the etzem is ultimate ein sof. The gilui doesn't the gilui can't express the etzem mitzad its nature itself. It's hard about. They would say hard about means that the Indian Agili has no tfisa smakim klal legabi the etzem. Talking about the etzem of a lukus, let's say. However much we're going to experience him, that's going to be a limited experience, let's say, a limited gili. The etzem is ain't sop betachlis. So the gili is not another version of him. The musik of Erin al-Lukus is because the etzem is not limited to be in a eifin of he could be in any limited way, in any limited form. Therefore, the etzem could also be begili. It's not another mitzvah. That's the b'meila. The air does not pell any shini in the market because the gili itself has not tizas market. This the prat the mile of an air is negeh the it's there. But the main thing with negeh is that the ufto of tzimtzum is that the amshacha which comes la'achar at tzimtzum has no erech klal like the air the way it is different. Then bring the Rebbe. That's one of the reasons why Chassidus uses air not shefa because the chisarn of shefa is that sheyesh shini b'shefa nasa shini gam b'mashpia. The etzem meaning of air or bavad doesn't nicht as if von negeh dazu reingehen in them. The etzem meaning of air. Yeah, the Elmas Smith, yeah, we're the Kanari Emrim Shaidin at Simsum. Befrat Simsum Arish, which was Befrat Simsum Arish, Shay is still the good to come if I'm Simsum. You have Simsum a parsa that the Rav is the parsa soft goes soft through the marshal, the Indian is expressed through the marshal. You have Simsum Derech Miot. Then you have Simsum Derech Siluk is that the Indian, the way it is by the Rav, that's in Ganzen is that's in Ganzen Amir. And it's the Talmud's Be'en Arech to the Rav. And the Indian, the way it is in his Galam, it's that Simsum has no Yachas Klal, has no relation at all to the Indian, the way it is different. Different from the Gamri. Simsum derech siluk. The mele so legabi the ha'ain sof shlifnei simsum the agvul is bottle has no tfisas market. It's kolachshin. If it's kolach shiv, you say ad kedekach kolach shiv. Al derech you're gonna say you say a svara that has that circular square. Doesn't exist. So there's a tzimtzum derech siluk, but uvgetan through the tzimtzum and become masber zayin a svara through colors. However, we understand how tzimtzum with the uvgetan, but colors the gabe the seichel has not tefisas makom klal. So the shinuyim was vert mitzad the fact that the svara comes in the realm of colors. That's not a shinui in him, because the mahus svara is mufshat legamri from that in. And the era nimshcha that tzimtzum has no yachas, has no era klal. The gabe the er shalif not tzimtzum. Keila mevin. Shenasa cholol reikon umokum poni. V'lei beivin shalil chol. V'achar kach nimshach rak kav kotze v'dag. V'gam b'darga shalif nizeh horay hoya tzimtzum rak be'er v'or leibin edeshev. Asher mizamu v'nech she'en zepel shum shini ba'ani ba'atzmis. But the Rebbe is inside here to the Shari Yichud. He's mevaris. He says it not only the gabi the etzem mamash, also the gabi the era blikvul. The gabi the era blikvul, the shinuyim was vern in the era gvul is kolachshivs has not fisa smakum the gabi the era blikvul. That's a einzach. So according to this beer, what are we saying? Brings weiter. Mitzad this beer, let's have to remember this word. We say that, let's say the area, the Shlit Chassidus says it. We say tzimtzum, when a machlekes zwischen, so when we say tzimtzum is kipshute. Tzimtzum kipshute means that Tmura said that the air was begilui, that the air was present. That the air was present. In this space, the air retracted. You say the marshal b'nefesh ha'adam that you have, let's say the chayis is nimshach in the yad, means the basar yad is living from the chayis, let's say. And now this chayis retracted, the stalkas and neshama minaguf. The neshama still exists. But he left the space of this body. The body doesn't contain chayis anymore. So there was a siluk. Tmura said that the air was meir. The air, there's the etzem, and the etzem contained his air within himself. But in Eilamis, the air is not present. And the Alter Rebbe says tzimtzum means helen. Not that the air retracted from that place. The air is there. But the air is not an eifin of gili, it's an eifin of helen. That means that we don't have in Mishalim, we don't really have this real musig of helen. It's not just the touch of this reveal of like saying this, saying the regular musig of helen, does not understand. I'm just saying, you say in Elam Hazel, someone's going to say, someone's going to take a certain box with certain treasures, you're going to cover it. You're going to cover this tea. You can say that now this tea is behelim because I'm blocking it. It's not behelim. The fact that a person could see something is because the davar which you're seeing is nispashet until your eyes. So now when you cover something, so till the michsa, till the cover, the davar is mispashet. There's no block, it's mispashet there. So it's not behelim, it's begilui. The mitzias of the whatever's in the box is mispashet until the michsa. Beyond the michsa, not beyond the michsa is behelim. Beyond the michsa doesn't exist at all. When you cover it, so now the spashas of the chveis, the drink that's under there doesn't extend itself further. It's not that it's behelim, it doesn't exist at all together. That's siluk. Siluk means that the Indian doesn't exist. Doesn't exist in the, you say in the pshat and since that siluk means that the air doesn't exist in the mitzias in the mitzias the air is nimtza, but he's not nimtza in the eifin of gilu. It's behelim. It means that the mekabel doesn't sense the air. But the air, from its point of view, is present in every sin in the previous Maamar Makabel. But then, what's the Nekudas Advarim Lefiza? So how do we say something's present even though the Makabel doesn't sense it, even though the Makabel's l'chore Shloime has into the air? Let's say the Makabel's gvul, the Elam is gvul, and the Alter Rebbe says even though the Elam is gvul, the Ein Sof is present in every single nivra. He's not expressed there. It means we don't see begilui bli gvul in the Nevrayim. The Nevrayim are gvul. So in Bezgalus, we don't see any remnants, the fact that there's Ein Sof present in a table. But the truth is that Ein Sof is Nimtza B'Kol Makom. And not only the Mar, the Etzim. The Eira Ein Sof, the Bezgalus of Ein Sof is Nimtza in every place. Elamai, the Mekabel is not Margish. So what's the Pshat? But he doesn't relate to the Hagbalus of Damag. The fact, usually, I just want to bring out this point because it's going to get to the Amshah. So usually when you say one thing is present in something else, you say there's tea in this cup. What Pshat is tea? Because the cup could handle the tea. Means when you say that something is present somewhere else, it's present there because the place where it exists is able to handle it. You say in Ein Sof, the Nibra is Gvul. Gvul doesn't have the tchunis that it could handle Bli Gvul. That's from the Gvul's point, it doesn't have the possibility to be stable, to handle Bli Gvul. But the fact that Ein Sof is Nimsa everywhere is for a different reason, not because this place relates to it and this place is able to handle it. Since you cannot be magbal Ein Sof, the Alter says you cannot say that Ein Sof is nimsa in a certain place because he's bligvul. So because he's Ein Sof, he's everywhere. When you say that, the fact that you say the table is in this room, it's not that the table is here because from the table's point of view, there has to be the room could contain the table. There's a space which contains this table. Something can be present somewhere else because from my point of view, I exist. If you're existing there, then it has to be that the place where you're present is able to handle you. You need to have the place's agreement to your existence there. Mashiach can say the fact that Eri himself nimsa b'kol makom is not because he relates to every Metzias Gvul. He doesn't relate to Daimon. He doesn't relate to Sameach. So Seichel, in the Meach of a person, Seichel could be Nirgash there. In the heart, Seichel could also be Nirgash. But in the feet, Seichel can't be Nirgash in the feet. So why can't they say Seichel should be there? The Seichel, there's no relation between the Seichel and the foot. Since there's no relation, so Seichel is not present in the foot. You can only be present somewhere if there's a Yachas, if there's a Shaykhas between the Dover and the place where he is. That's only Shaykhas if your presence is Mitzad Gvul. Means the reason why Seichel is present to the Meach, because the Meach is a Keli for it. Seichel is a specific thing, and he has its Mokim where it is, and Meach is a Keli to Seichel. Mashiach and Ein Sof, the fact that Ein Sof is present everywhere, why is Ein Sof present everywhere? Because he cannot be Magbul, because he's Ein Sof. Because he's Ein Sof, so from his point of view, you can't say that he's Dafke in Gvul and not in Gvul. Because then he's not Ein Sof. I thought you're saying that his Amitis Ein Sof has no definition at all. If he has no definition at all, so he's everywhere. Not that he relates to the specific properties of the everywhere. The way he's Ein Sof, he's everywhere. So the Agbolis and the Shinuyim of the Mekabel don't exist Legabidel. Are not Teves Makam Legabidel. And he's Nimtza because he's Ein Sof. Not because he relates to this form or relates to that form. I think that's one beer Lishanis. The Rebbe read that zweiter Zach, that's what's going to get to the Hemshah, it's going to get to this, that's going to be Madgish, this Abchana. The Rebbe read weiter that there is the Eir Agvul. Means there's the Eir which does come according to the Sigdorim of the Mekabel. Let's see, when you get to Tzameach, there's the Chayes Eliki that comes in the form of being Matzmeach at Tzameach. So this Chayes Eliki ain't Sof, or he comes behesim to the Tziyur of a Keich HaTzmicha Mikatas Agadas. He comes behesim to the Metzias HaNivra. So that's Shanaan in the Ganze. The fact that ain't Sof Nimtza B'Kol Makim, the fact that the Eira Bligvul, he's not the Pshat that through Silok he was Mistalik. He's Nimtza, but he's Behelim. But there he doesn't relate to the specific Shinuyim of the Makom HaMekabel. He's the Malim Yishalkus, and er bleibt the Malim Yishalkus. The way he is Ein Sof, gefindt er sich in Daimim Tzameach Chaim Medav, Shignasim Kashi, if he's Ein Sof, how is he present there? If he doesn't relate to Daimim, he doesn't relate to the Tzur of Tzameach, how is he present in Tzameach? The Teretz is, Ein Sof is not Shaykh L'Sei Agbola. If you say that he cannot be present in Gvul, you're saying that he's limited. And you cannot say any Agbola in Ein Sof. So the way he is Ein Sof, he's Nimtza everywhere. He doesn't relate to the Tzir of the Mekabel. So there, what's the Pshat Leisha Nisi? That the Shinuyim don't exist Legabi. They're not even smoking Legabi. And with what is he present in the Gvul? Because he's Ein Sof, you can't limit it. Mash'ekin, we're saying that then there's the Eir Gvul. What's Pshat Eir Gvul? The Eir that comes in a Eifin, that he comes behesim to the form of the Nivraim. He comes behesim to the Metzias HaNivraim. So the Chorah, that Eir, it should yet be nispal from the Shinuyim of the Nivraim. But you heard the Avchonas Achilik. From what the Rebbe is speaking when they get to the Eir Gvul, the fact that there's no Shinui in the Eir Gvul. And the Kud has to be clear. You heard the minion. Huh? Amitas ain't Sof. He's Eir Gvul. The Amitas ain't Sof, you cannot say that he's Dafke present in Gvul and he's not present in Gvul. Why? Not because, what I'm saying is, when we say that in Sof is Nimtza B'Kol Makim, it's not the Pshat that he relates to every place. He's Ein Sof, but Ein Sof you cannot say that he has a certain area, then you're being magbul. And Ein Sof means that he's Ein Sof, that is Amitas Ein Sof. V'mili is Nimtza B'Kol Makim, but he's Nimtza without relating to the pratis the Shinuyim of that place. The Alter Rebbe says in Daimim there's Ein Sof mamish, not a Chayis Mugbelis to the Tzir of Daimim. The Ein Sof is Nimtza B'Kol Makim. We think with what is he in Daimim, he doesn't relate to Daimim at all. Hasta Kasha. This wasn't the Pasha. But the Pearl, the hechlech that he's everywhere is because the Ein Sof has no limits at all. So we cannot, since he's Ein Sof, you cannot say that he's Dafke in Ruchnis and not in Gashmis. Because Ebazer being Magbul. The Rebbe is saying here to the Shariach, there he says that Legabi the Bligvul, Kachashecha, Ka'era, means his Ein Sof is not affected by the Shinui. His init is never mischalik. K'mei Shiur is Nimtza B'Kol Makom. He's not expressed. And the Shinuyim have no erech to him. Verkehrt. We're saying the fact that he's present is not because this makim has an erech towards him. If the makim had an erech towards him, the fact that he's present in Tzemeach is because Tzemeach expresses him in a certain way. There's some relation to the Shinui. We're saying the Tzemeach has nothing to do with him at all. He shalei berech higher than Tzemeach. Tzemeach is bull and he's amitas abligbo. There's no erech klal between bull and abligbo. So then you say he doesn't exist everywhere. Say, he does exist everywhere because out ain't stuff is everywhere. Without relating to the Hagboladic Gdarim of the Nivra, he's present because you cannot say that he's limited to a certain form of being. The male is Zimtzah B'Kol Makom. Masha'egin, what the Rebbe is speaking weiter, when you get to the Erech Vol, it's a whole different Indian. The Erech Vol is an which comes behesem to the tzir of the Metzias. That's it, there's Tzemeach, and there's Chai, and there's Medaber. And there's a Chai Seliki that comes behesem to the tzir of Chai, behesem to the tzir of Tzemeach, behesem to the tzir of Medaber. So there, it's not the Erech Kamesh who ain't sub as Zimtzah B'Kol Makom. The way he comes into that tzir of Gvul. That's the Erech Gvul. It's a Kav Kotzer. It means he comes the Fi'ayf in the Nivraim. And even the Gabi this we say that there's no Shinoi. Now we'll have to see. If I stay the meaning. Why the Bosi the Hecher of Tzimtzum Lav? What's the Hecher of Tzimtzum Lav Kivshute? So, because I'm not going to the Biyurim, I'm trying to say it's not, he's present everywhere, not because he suits to the everywhere. See, we have in the Vrayim, there's Tzemeach, Daimon, there's different types of, so the Ein Sof is Nimtza B'Kol Makom, not because he suits to the Tzemeach and he suits to the Daimon. The way he is Ein Sof, he's present everywhere. His Ein Sof is not, the way he is Ein Sof is everywhere. And the whole musik of Shinuyim and Akbalis don't exist like Abiyim. The concept that to be somewhere, you have to relate to that place, you have to have something in common with that place. That Hagbala doesn't exist like the Ein Sof. So the Gabi him Shinuyim and his Chalkos are not Teves don't exist like Gabi. So there's no Shinuyim. You heard the meaning. So I'm not going into their hechrich why the Alter Rebbe said Simtzum Lav Kipshute. As it does like Alter Rebbe, that's Simtzum Lav Kipshute. I'm just trying to say is what's the beer that the Ein Sof is Nimtza B'Kol Makom? Is it because he doesn't relate to the Shinuyim? The Shinuyim don't exist like Gabi. That's what the Rebbe says. The Eirach Vol, what does Tzimtzum bring out? That the Eilamis and the Hamshachah, the way it's Nimshach and Eilamis, has no Eirach Klal like Gabi the Blikvo. So what's the Pshat is Nimtza there? The Pearl we say Tzimtzum is Helam, not Silu. Because it's Ein Sof. Avada, that's Tzimtzum is Helam. It says clearly there in Sharichot. The word of Helam. The Rebbe is sign also to the Maamar Tov Samach Beis. There it touches this Mufurish that Tzimtzum is not Siluk, Tzimtzum is Helam. No, Samach Beis is on the Sharichot.
Not speaking about how the earth itself is no
Not the Eirach Vol, the Eirach Blikvo. Got to let me the Eirach Blikvo, nothing the Eirach Vol. Sai Perektes and Sai Samach Beis, let me get to the Eirach Blikvo. There it means that the Tzimtzum is Helam, not that he's not present there. That's about thinking with the Maamar. Let's first see the Gofeni. This is an important point. Shegam ba'er in Pel Shem Shiur. What's that Rebbe? Hagam shebe'er hayat Tzimtzum. וגם אלה נמשכו קו קוצר ודק, שמזה שהוא קו קוצר ודק, מובן שנמשך בשל קוצר, שגם זהו צמצום, נייס לזה שמתחיל נמשך די צמצום, אבל כן אין מוליש ניסי גם עליה. So what's the second air? You have the air that does come by from tzimtzum. You have the air which the tzimtzum at pel g'dan afem, that it should come in a way that suits the mitzias elemis. So the churim mitzad that air, so you have kama v'kama dargas and elemis. There's elemis ein sof, there's elemis atzilis. So the gabi the ein sof, the shinuyim and elemis are not teves makom legabiyim. Means they have no meaning legabiyim. And he's present because he's ein sof. It's not chazak. But then there is the kav kotzer mitzumtzum, which comes the fitzir elemis. So the gabi him there's dargas and elemis. And he comes behesim to the tzir of elemis. So the in that air there's shinuyim. There's the air the way it's nirgish and atzilis. And then he comes in the lower eif and he's behesim to elemis biyah. The in that air there's shinuyim. You have the air, this air that kav, the way it is lifnat tzimtzum. The Rebbe is Dr. Freya. But the Rebbe is saying here, Gam be'er and Pel Shem Shin, the Rebbe is kind of prating with the air kav. Because you have the air kav, the way it is a prat in the air blikvo. You have the way that air kav comes in the ifan of Havdalah from the air blikvo. And in them gufas come the shinui. So the shinui. So you can't say that the air is mufshut from the shinui. The whole nikud of this air is that it comes by ifan mit tzimtzum. That the tzimtzum is pale and that he should come in a ifan of tzimtzum. He should come behesim to the tzir of air mit tzimtzum. So what's the pshat? There's no shinui. So there brings two pratim. Ich sage, wie ihr versteht das. So there brings like this. So the pshat is eigentlich nicht einmal there. We're going to have to see how all this also is negeya to explain was the Rebbe Velarizli negeya to the Ma'ala Adin Ketz. But let's see. It's interesting because the Tzemach Tzedek there says that there's no shinu even in the Eir HaGvul. Even in the Eir HaNimshach Hayde Atzimtzum, there's no shinu. But the Peri doesn't explain it in Amanas Lukus. He just says the Gufa Indian, he doesn't touch up over there. What's the pshat? There's no shinu in Eir HaGvul. But Dortens maybe gam kamash kazam kamacher bir kamash kazam beitzer chaim shigam be'er ein shum shinu. Dorten teicht sich nicht ab, what's the beer with it? He just says that some Sachen. Move a dogma is bringt in the koteter that zweiter or that dogma for zami. What's the pshat? In Moshe Saltrebe says, example, there he says, you see, the Gabi the Era believe what we say that he's because not messiachas to the Mitzvah. It's not messiachas to the Mitzvah. The Era Gvul does come to the Mitzvah. And the Chore Ebazei, so there's Shinui. So then bring out the dogma that Nishmeisha was Neshama Datzilis. B'shas Meisha was alive, so this Neshama Datzilis was present in Elam Hazeh. He was Melumish Beguf. So Azevet Menzagen, we have, we have Shaitan Apipashtis. Atzilis is higher Kalim, so there the air is no higher air. That is Mitzamtzim more, and the air comes, Behesim to Elam is Biyah. That's a Shinik. So you have the air the way it's in the form of Atzilis, and you have the air the way it comes into the form of Biyah. So Alter says it's not a Shinik. The air itself stays the same. There's no shinui in the air gufa. It's only a shinui whether what the mekabel is margish. But the air himself stays the same. So what's the Alter Rebbe doing? The Alter Rebbe brings, and they get to Moshe Rabbeinu. That b'shas Moshe Rabbeinu was alive. His neshama is neshama that's it. As Moshe Rabbeinu was neshama beguf. So the elam atzilis was present here in elam hazeh. He was neshama beguf. Erd gered gashmi zigaisis. There was a person molubish beguf, and here was the consciousness of atzilis. So elam atzilis is then done in elam hazeh. Now that, so it was that in the front. We have the air of Elam is Biyah is not the Muhusay. You say the air Hamalubish in Elam is Biyah. In Elam Hazeh. Is not the Muhusay a different air than the air the way it is not Atzilis. If, you see, we're talking about air Agvul, not air. If Atzilis has the limit that he can only be in a form of Elam Atzilis, he cannot be in Elam Hazeh. So V'yzer Geven says, what's the pshat that there was a Guf Gashmi, there was the Zgalus air Atzilis. The means mitzad the air which is nimshach in biyah, the air agvul, and the air atzilis is be'em is the same hus. Sachakel and the air the air of elam atzilis is present within elam hazeh also. Sachakel the mekabel we're not margish. If you had a guf that you're able to be margish there, what was margish given? We're not sensitive to the fact that there's air atzilis. But legabe the air gufa there's no shina at all. Let's bring that the dogma from Meshach. No, I'm saying the term is that and Shas Moshe Rabbeinu to left. See, had the Eira Atzilis was nimtze kam lamat in Elam Hazeh, and the Achir is Talkus Moshe. It's not the Pshat the Achir is Talkus Moshe. The Eira Atzilis was nimshach and a higher. During Elam Hazeh, there's Eira Atzilis too. Sachaka, there's no Keli which could sense this air. But mitzad the air, he's nimtze here in Elam Hazeh. Mitzad the Eira Gvul, even the air, the way the air comes, behesim to the Mitzias and Evrahim. Talking about the air of Elam Atzilis, not the Eira Insa. Even the way the air comes in Shiur. So this air, mitzad the muhusa air, is not mugwal that he has to be dafke be in a eifin of Atzilis. Mitzad the air is nimtzim mispashet, he can be mayor even in Elam Hazeh. And even behaving now he can be mayor in Elam Hazeh. Sachaka, there's no kalim which are bringing it out. The way it is in Atzilis. No, that's negate Elam Atzilis. So even the air Atzilis talking about the air Agvul. Even the air which is not the air which the Gabim, there's no gedarim at all. We're talking about an air that is nizgal according to the system. Even the air, the way it comes according to the system, b'mhusay, he's not limited in the tzir of the system.
But he's limited to Lachar Simpson.
Well, I'm saying, maybe I'll just bring out the point this way. I'm saying is, we use this dogma, I mentioned this dogma yesterday, just I didn't bring the zach. What's this chalkas advarim? What I'm saying is, so we'll see what the Shiur, without the response, we're just going to put this like, there's one, I mean, there brings us in a Maamar somewhere that there's two efanim how there's by a person there's keches pnimim, let's say, and then which each keach is mugbal. There's seichel, there's midas, and each keach has a certain it's a specific keach. Seichel is not midas, seichel is a specific thing, the power for understanding, and there's emotions for shidna keches. Then there is ratzon. Ratzon is not a keach prati. Ratzon is that the general eye of the person is drawn towards something. It's not a keach prati. It's not seichel is the power to understand. It's not a power to want. Keach ratzon is that the general eye, not a keach prati in the person. The general eye is nimshach to something. The mahus nefesh, the way he's beyond being connected to tzir prati, is nimshach to a certain need. Yeah, ratzon is a keach lot. That's why the Ratzin is sheilet on all Kovetz. By Seichel HaMidas, the Seichel can't control the Midas. If the Midas are kelim to Seichel, then Seichel is going to have an effect on them. See, a Rav, someone can't control someone else to understand. If you understand it, you understand it. If not, not. Seichel cannot control the Mekabel. He's not higher than him. Seichel is a specific kayach. And in Seichel, let's say, is something's understood, and the heart is not a keli for it. The Seichel can't command the heart to want a certain way or to feel a certain way. Ratzin is shalit. Ratzin is higher than all kelis because the kol is anefesh. But Chassidus says that there's two efanim, visa brains chareis to take a ratzin. There's one way is that the take of a ratzin is expressed in the fact that a person could want something, and even if it doesn't make sense, and it's against the seichel and it's against his midas, but he won't be mischashev with the seichel midas. Legabe ratzin, legabe him seichel midas have not to smoking. Even if it doesn't make sense to want such a thing, the eye of the person is not limited that he has to make sense. They say the etzem adam doesn't have to be something which is programmed has to make sense. Ervil, he's nimshah. So the gabi the etzem adam seichel midas have not to smoking. So there's one way that the take for Ratzin is expressed in them that seichel midas are in his battle. The gabi him they don't exist. That's the ene. That says that the Ratzin matters as seichel. If a person wants something, the Ratzin is toil that the seichel should start finding hatzdakis and reasons to be mastic the Ratzin. So seichel mitzad atzmai would never, let's say, if seichel would function on its own, it wouldn't have came up with these ideas for these svaris lahatik the Ratzin. Because he has a Ratzin towards it, because it's nefesh and the Ratzin is a starke zach. So mitzad the take of a nefesh, mitzad the take of a Ratzin, the Ratzin is matis as seichel. That the seichel should function with the Ratzin will. Yeah, so that's as I'm asserting. So what I'm saying is there is the seichel, there's the gvul, and then there is the Ratzin. The Ratzin is not a davar mugdal. Ratzin is the meshichas nefesh. The way the nefesh is not a keach prat. But you have two efanim how this bleak gvul is misbat. One efan the bleak gvul is expressed in the fact that legabe ein sof gvul is batal. Gvul is distinct. You have another way that the bleak gvul is misbat in them, not that legabe him the gvul is batal. That he could be nimshach because he's not limited to a specific form, but mainly he could relate to any form. He could relate to any tzir. The Ratzin mitzad take of a Ratzin, he could be poil lahatis is a seichel, that the seichel should be matzdik as Ratzin. A regular keach, let's say, seichel, you understand something. Or seichel is a person understands something, let's say. But you can't, let's say you say, where a person wants, a mensch versteht a gewisse Sache. You cannot be poil heipech teva aleiv. You can't force the heart to function not the way the heart functions. Shtaz azach. That you have a keach elyon which can be shalom. The heart has its burden, seichel has its burden, and in order for the heart to be affected by the svara, the heart's going to have to be behesed to the svara. Ratzin has a tchone, he can be shalom. Mitzad the Ratzin that he's not mukbal in the kolam of in the akbalos of the keches pnim. So Eber will is Eber zayin it. But in was fara efer brings the bleak vol of the Ratzin. Not that he's going to cancel out the seichel midas. The take of a Ratzin is expressed in them that he could deploy that the seichel midas should function not mitzad the way they have to function according to their limitations. They could function mitzad the way it is mitzad the take of a Ratzin, mitzad the bleak vol. You heard the chiluk. What I was saying is the erak vol as mir learning. You say there's the etzem and there's keches pnimim. Keches pnimim are dvarim pratim, dvarim mugbalim. Then they're gvul. Gvul is agbalis. There's shinui. The Ratzin amates haseichel is not gvul. He doesn't come in a way that legabe him the gvul doesn't exist. If the gvul doesn't exist, then he wouldn't be payil that seichel lahatis taseichel. That seichel should be mamtzi time and musvaris lahastik zaratz. The fact that Ratzin comes in a that he's payil and seichel, that seichel should work behesin to the Ratzin. That's because he relates to the keches pnimim. He's misgala through them. But mitzad what is he? But mitzad what is he in a form of seichel mitzvah? Because he's gvul, or because he's in his ratzin, he's in his bleak gvul. But it's the bleak gvul, the way it's expressed in the fact that he could relate to every form, that he could be nisgal in every form. So who says bleak gvul? The erein stuff have bleak gvul. Say the lifnetz himself Mary given the era bleak gvul. Era bleak gvul is that it's heard that the Eibishter's ain't stuff, and the gabi him there's no element, there's no mitzvahs of gvul. The era kav is not that in Yoni is gvul. In Yoni is that mitzad the ein tzav v'lakus can eicha stein in eifim from tzir. He could also be nisgal in eifim of gvul. He can be his ein tzav is not mechayev to cancel the gvul. That he should be nisbatel the gvul. As even through gvul the ein tzav could be expressed. The ein tzav could be heard. The air could be meir in gvul. So b'mhusay it's an inyan of bleak gvul, not inyan of gvul.
But last time you mentioned that before the Tzimtzum.
I'm saying because for Masbin needs to them saying this word that even the Eir Gvul there's no shinui because the pnimi is mohus of the Eir Gvul in Yoni is not Gvul. If it was Gvul, then there's shinui. In Yoni is that the Eir Ha'ain Sav could also be an Eifin of Gvul. So that's Veif. There's two Eifanim. How to understand the Musik of Ratzim Matas Asel. What are you bringing about? I want to bring up. Full is bringing the word freer. You heard the meaning. I said last time that the two Eifanim how to understand the Musik of Ratzim Matas Asel. There's one way to understand it is that you see mitzad there's one way to understand it is that mitzad and you see the pashta usually you understand Ratzim Matas Asel is a lower darga than the Ratzim that you say in the Chadarim Lifnei Ratzim. Because the amitis musa nefesh seichel amitis have not tfisas makim. Previous nefesh is pashut from tzir. Legabi the pshitis k'meish hu b'mehusay seichel amitis have not tfisas makim. The fact that there's a darga of ratzin which is mischashiv with seichel amitis, that alone is a darga that's already the way he comes in a lower eifin that gvul has. You see pashas of them. Why is it? Certain people they're not mischashiv with seichel amitis. Certain people are going to find hatzdakas to be maslik. So it depends if you're talking about a person that Bechlal, his Seichel Mitzvah have no tfisas makim. So when he wants something, Ervil, and it's a gate of Nishtan, whether it's understood or not. Masha'inkin, you have a person, he has Takar Ratzim, which is Nifresh from Etzma Nefesh, but he also matters to him to do things that make sense. L'poyel is a mensch we mention, and Seichel and people function up his Seichel. So in Mele, what kvetches him that his Ratzim should not be disregard the Seichel Mitzvah, but it should be matus HaSeichel. For Asedez, we're going to have a certain mensch that Seichel Mitzvah have a tfisas makim by it. So the Havana Pshuta is the fact that there's what's Pshat Eir Gvul? That the Eir could also come in a tzir of Gvul. Could also come in a tzir not by being shelo the mitzvahs of the Nifraim, not by being mevatel them. He comes, he suits himself to express himself on their terms. Why is he coming on their terms? Because so the Parshat Dvarim is there is a mitzvah of Eilam. There's a mitzvah that Simpson Gavar Navel, mitzvah the roof that's Gavar Navel, and now the Eir is legabi that Eir which is Nimshach La'achrat Simpson. There's even though his Indian is big vul, but lagabi him there's also a velt. The mele you want to use he's mischashiv with velt. He's not going to be a vatli. The parsha is the lower dark. The Eir in such a system is the Eir the way it's Meir Kameshu. The Eir mitzad the way it's Meir Kameshu. There's no mitzvah of velt. There's no musik of mitzvahs before. So now there's already nesinas makom ta'elam is even though we're talking about the Eir HaKav, which is nimshach and velt, but the reason why the Eir HaKav comes in Eif that he's Meir through the gedarim of Elam is. Because mitzad this even though his Indian is not gvul, his Indian is as a zacher the the spashis of Alukus. But his Indian is, but sav kosav legabe erakav, elam esrar mitzias, mitzad gvul. And since elam esrar mitzias, he's not going to cancel them. He'll be in his gale through them. The pashas said tzimtzum, so you read it. That there's some tfisas makim to the mitzias elam. If there's some tfisas makim to the mitzias elam is, we'll see, mitzen. That's the Pashas Advarim. That the Eir Gvul, the reason why the Eir comes in Eifin Mugbal is because he gives Yad Tfisas Makom Tevis. The Meili is Meir in the Eifin, not an Eifin of you say Shelo them. He's Meir in the Eifin that they should function according to the Ratzim. Not they should function Eifin. Mitzad Gvul, the Seichel wouldn't be finding tzedakos to the Ratzim. The fact that Seichel is finding tzedakos is because the Seichel is functioning the way he is mechuyev mitzad the Blikvul. He's functioning mitzad the Ratzim. But the point is the Ratzim cancelling the Seichel, or through Seichel he's going to bring his enemy through Seichel. So that Api Pashtus, that's mitzad the Eir's mitzumtzum, more mitzumtzum the way it was the Fnei Tzimtzum. Mitzad the Primus, but I'm trying to make out is when you say Leishan Nisa Legabe Eir itself is Blikvul. Legabe the Eir of Blikvul, Gvul doesn't exist. Gvul has no tfisas makom at all. There's no concept of Eilamis. There's no concept of Nivraim. There's no Shinuim. There's no Eschalkos. There's no concept of Makim. Doesn't have to relate to anyone. There's no system. Mitzad the Eir of Blikvul. See, because there's no system, you say, how is he present here if he doesn't relate to the tziyurim of Dem Tzemech HaMedav? He doesn't have to relate, he's Ein Sof. And there's no musik of Agbala, the Gabe Ein Sof. B'meila is Lo Shanisi, because the whole shinuyim and the tziyurim of the Nivraim have not tfisas makom, the Gabe Deir. And the fact that he's not Begili is also not a shin. What's the Kod of Gili? He's not Nirgash. That doesn't affect him. The Eir is not bound by the Gdarim of whether the Metzias is Behezim Tim or not. From his accord, he's Nimtza B'Kolman. From his accord, he's Ein Sof. Doesn't have to relate to the place that he's in. Eir HaGvul, that I was talking about when they get to Eir HaAtzilis, he comes in the Eifin, or brings two Dugmayos over here when they get to the Leishan Nisi in the Eir. Atzilis and Nevuah. Eir HaAtzilis is not Eir HaBlikvul. It's the Eir the way it's Mlubash and Kelim. It's the way the Eir is Mislabish that Elokus is Meir through Chesed. But in Yoni is not Chesed. In Yoni is that the Pshittus of Elokus should be Nirgash through the Inyan Chesed. Come Biurim, but that's the Nekud way from Kovetz. It's Eir. Eir is the Izgalus Hamor. Not in Gvul is not Eir. Eir is Eir Mein Hamor. The Izgalus Etzim. But you have this Galus Etzim, the way the Etzim is Batz Musim. The Etzim is Ein Sof. Like him, there's no concept of Gvul. That's the Eir Ablik Boshlif Etzim. You have the way the Etzim is Meir. It means the Spashtus Elokus, the Spash, it's Meir, the Eibish's Pshittus, but without cancelling the Gvul. I'm using the Dugma of Ratzim Matas HaSeichel. The fact that Seichel is finding reasons is Nevea because the Nefesh is not Mugbal. If the Nefesh should be Mugbal, then Seichel won't be able to find reasons for Azafar Hakta Ratzim. The fact that the Seichel is finding reasons because he's not Mugbal to the form of Seichel. But how is this Heder Akbala being expressed? Through Seichel. Through the fact that Seichel is not functioning as a limited thing, it's functioning through a Blikvul thing. So this, the Eir Neshamet Eir Datzilis, which is already an Eir which comes Behesim to the Tzir of the Nevraim, if he comes Behesim to the Tzir of the Nevraim, so he should be Mishtana according to the Kalim, after that the Eir Batzmus is Blikvul. And he's not Mishtana, before we say the Hezbollah. So move, I think was the Mesha Neshamet Datzilis. First, I'll show you Bifnim, be the Rebbe Zak, this shouldn't be. Lamerzen Pasha the Aces Bifnim. So move, then was the Mesha Neshamet Datzilis, meaning the Nevuah, the base, Nanim Elu, in Chinas Hatzilus Ubriya. So Agam Sha'om, and Mishcha Besim Midish Batla Nevuah. What's Nevuah? Nevuah is Galas Elokus Tanivra. And that Rebbe says it's Mislabish in the Me'ach Hanav. That's not Insof. Let me negate it's a bit of Shas Charbis and Midish, but what's the Pshat? The Nevuah now went to a higher world. Was there a Shinui? Till now there was Nevuah in Elam Hazah. And now the Nevuah ascended to a higher level. There's no, his Galas Elokus doesn't he say there was a Rav and he was in a state of lowering himself to relate to a Talmud, and now the Rav removed himself. And now he's in a higher state. That's the passion you understand. The Rav is not revealing himself in a way that Talmud should be able to sense it. He removed himself. What's the Pshat Batla Nevuah? That the Izgalas Elokus of Nevuah doesn't exist anymore. Elokus is not Mizgal in such a Eifin of Nevuah. So the Rebbe Zak Nishta Zeh. Eina Pirish Yesh Shini Ba Nevuah. Gamati Yesh Shini Ba Nevuah. L'Payol, no one's tapping into that energy. That energy exists, and the energy mitzad his mahos could be Nizgal in Elam Hazah. Means the energy is in a form, but L'Payol, there's no Nivra, there's no Mekabel, which is tapping into that energy. But mitzad him, he's Nimsa enveloped. ועל דרך זה אילו ינים צמא שבינו עתה, הוי גם עתה נשמה דצלס בגולי הדרך שוי אז. מכן הרי אין השיני בהער, אלא שאין מקבל לקבל. So what's the part that there's no shini there? You say there's all the shinuim that exist in Ephraim, what comes out from here is, בעצם, darf es verstehen, לגבי the different shinuim of them צמא חיים ודבר, the Rebbe is saying here לגבי this in of Nevuah, let's say. In the earth there's no shini. And Chassidus brings a dogma, l'mashal, לגבי the keich hatnu shviyad. A person's hand freezes, his finger freezes. It doesn't say the Gabi Erakbol, but when the person's finger freezes, so he can't can't function if the hand is frozen. But there's no shinu. The Keich HaTnua's presence in the hand is not changed. The Keich HaTnua, at its point of view, is fully be slapshus in the yad. L'poil, the psar yad is naifin that he can't express the fact that the Keich HaTnua is present in the yad. There's no shinu in the air. Eir Atzilus is gefinzach do Elam Hazah. L'Payol, we're not tapping into the air. There's no mitzad the air. The air is not an aifim that he's only shaykhs to a higher world. He's not shaykhs to a lower world. The air of Atzilus is mitzad his accord is shaykh lahayr li'spashat here in Elam Hazah and to be felt on a guf. L'Payol, there's no guf that's tapping into this energy. But not that the air was mishtam. Not that la'achri that the air ascended to a higher direct.
As opposed to the Arab Livo, which is not Shaykh at all to tap into?
Arab Ligvol is not. This air comes in the Chiddush. We'll see the Chiddush. I think that this next word explains the teich of what the Rebbe is saying before. This Valder is there. What's the Hemshech Advar? The Rebbe brings that there's no shin in the air, even the air akav. So the tzimtzum is not a real shin. The tzimtzum is that he's not an aifin, he's not being expressed. But he mitzidai is not. He mitzidai could be in Israel. But do was like I said when you get to Eir Atzilus Nelam Hazah. That Eir Atzilus mitzidai could be expressed in a guf. It's technical. There's no guf that's tapping into this energy which is right now present in Elam Hazah. There's a energy present in the realm of Elam Haza, of Elam Atzilus. Leplay, we're not tapping into it. So al derech zeh, you say the Eir HaKav, is the Eir Mitzumtzum. The Eir HaKav, Bamitis Mahusay, is energy from Eir Nitzav Abligvul. The same way the Eir HaKav was Lifnei Tzimtzum, which the Eir HaKav Lifnei Tzimtzum was a prat in Eir Abligvul. It wasn't Mishtanim Mitzad Mahusay. The Tzimtzum hat nur Pel gewend that Legabi the Mekabel is nicht nirgash. But Mitzad the Eir, Mitzad the Mahusay Eir, there was no Shina at all. Mitzad the Mahusay Eir is exactly the same Mahusay the way it was Lifnei Tzimtzum. But Dugmas like this Eir Atzilus. B'shas Moshe Rabbeinu had gelebt, all Yidam gezen on the Neshama Atzilus. And there was a guf that was margish in the Neshama Atzilus. Now there's no guf that's margish in the Neshama Atzilus. Doesn't mean that Eir Atzilus is movable. And what are we margish? Margish a much lower dark. There was no shini there. The Eir Mitzad his mohos could be expressed now from his point of view, has the ability to be expressed in Elam Hazah. Lepoil, there's no mekabel that's margish. So there's the whole symptom is a helam. The symptom is not that the Eir, the Mahusa Eir was Mishtan. The Mahusa Eir is the same Eir. The symptom is that the Mekabel shouldn't be Margish this Eir. But Dugmas like when you get the fact that we're not sensing the energy which exists in Elam Hazah, Elam Atzilus. So there's them together all the Shneim with Eir Akbar. The symptom is only a Helim at the Mekabel is Nishnirgash. But it's not, but Mitzat the Mahusa Eir, he's present on every level. But the ganze Blik Vol sein. We'll see in other words, the Eir HaGvul, which is Nimshach in Elam Hazah, which is Nimshach in Tzemeach. Bim Husay, he's the same Eir HaGvul as Lifnei Tzimtzum. The Tzemeach is only Margish Eir B'tzir from Tzmicha, and Tzmicha Vasiya Agashmis. That's Mitzad his Hergish. But Mitzad the Mahus HaEir, it's the same Mahus as Eir HaAtzilus. And it's the same Mahus as the Eir, the way it is Lifnei Tzimtzum. What's the Pshat in them? So Lamer's and
And the way is before the Tzimtzum, it's all there.
Pshat in Eir HaBlig.
Yeah,
I'm
it's there.
saying the Shaili, I said before, the Shaili is, you're going into how the wie versteht man Eir HaGvul as a Prat and Blig, how is Eir HaGvul in Lifnei Tzimtzum? That's not Lamer's in. So what's the Al Derech Zeh? I think this Al Derech Zeh is the Pnimius Abir of this Nekuda of the Marshal when you get to the Eir HaGvul. What does the Rebbe mean about? Al Derech Zeh Mashkas Mitzvah Samanus Lokos. B'dugmas Rav Mashpia Seichel Talmidei Sheseichel HaRav Hu Shalei Be'erech L'Seichel Havanas HaTalmud. כדי שיהיה לשכל אפילו בערך שכל בערך התלמוד. צריך לסלק שכל לגמרי, אחר כך אומרים שכל בערך התלמוד. אפילו כשמסלק שכל אין הפירש אז אין שכל אצלי, אלא שיש אצלי השכל כמקד. רק שאין זה שייך למקבל. But the Indian itself is not משתנה. But again, like יש בקבל הרב, אין שייך זה שרב הוא בעל שכל כמקד. כי אם מדך שהוא צורך להמשך לגל לשכל לתלמידי, הנה בזה אין שכל הרב בגולי. גם לא שכל הגבולי שבי. You have the lashon they have the lashon there for the here because I think that's even though the lashon here I'm verstehen, you have the lashon there for the Sacha. Because but I verstehen that there is lashon, but the lashon there for the Sacha is no, this Perek Vav. That's the first. This is Perek Vav. The Rebbe is thinking the Moshe that I have a Talmud. What from us? I think the Rebbe is the lashon over here is which page? Very good. What do you mean?
Yeah, just the bottom.
Oh. It says, "K'miyad echma shel Rashi mashal asin schak mem tini kotn fias kolosish." Shal again simtzum askol serab oz any pchinas. Behu hu mamish elish simtzum asin. What's behu hu mamish elish simtzum asin? What's the pshat in them? So the svarim tzimtzemes is the same who as the Rav. Now the revert to the fact that the Eir is nimshach. And if you say what's the pshat that the Rav, why is it that the Rav is able? You say the seichel Rav said that's mishlei be'erach to the Talmud. The Rav has to go through the whole process of tzimtzum, and he's able to be masber his svara in a way that a Talmud Kodesh should be able to relate it. What's the pshat that the Rav could also come in a form that's passing to the Talmud? That's misad amitis ablik vol shaveh. What I'm saying is, if you use the mashal of Ratzim, bechitzeni is the way we see it is that mitzad the muhus hablik vol, so gvol is not Teves smoking. The Eir HaGvul, which is misachas the veld, is a lower darget, which mitzad that darget is that tfisa smoking to the gvul of Elmas. And maybe we're not being mavatul. If that would be the avana, then there would be shinuyim. If the avana would be that the blik vol kameshu b'mhusa, the guy be the blik vol, there's no mitzvah of gvul. Gvul is batul. Gvul is hakbalis in the system. The Eibush himself is before the whole concept of tzimtzum. Mitzad that in Valt is bottle. Mashenki mitzad the air. The way it's nimshach la'achar at tzimtzum. Legabi this air there's a mitzvah of Valt, there's a mitzvah of Gvul, and the air comes in the eifin that is mizgala through the Gvul. Why is he mizgala in the eifin of Gvul and not being mavatal? Because the Gabi this earth, there's a Tfisa Smokim to the Metzias of Elamis. If the Pshat is the Smokim to the Metzias of Elamis, then there'd be Shinuyim. Then the fact that there's a Shinuyim Velt, there's a Shinuyim Gabi in. In Elam Hazeh is Nidrika from Elam Hatzilis. So the earth is not Nimtza in Elam Hazeh the way he is in Hatzilis. According to the system of Seder Shlashalas, Elam Hazeh is a lower level of Hatzilis. Kenner Zayin the Zelba Earth and Hatzilis done in Elam Hazeh. What's the beer that Hatzilis, there's no Agbolus and Hatzilis is done in Elam Hazeh? Because the Pnimius in the fact that the Rav could come an Eifen of Talmud, that's not the reason why that there's this Indian of Erak Vol. As there can come an Eifen of Vel is not, once there's that Simsim in the Smakim of Vel, Muslim come in a Vel, they're Mesachas to the Metzias of Vel. The Nekud is fakert. The Nekud is that Mitis Ablik Vol is expressed in them that he doesn't have to come in a way of being Mavatal the Metzias. He's not limited that his Ein Sof should be in a tzir of Shlila of the Metzias. It can come in the tzir of the Metzias. And Ava Bekain's also Cheren Zani. The Erak Vol, the fact that he comes I did Tzimtzum, that's not Bechitzenius, it's an Indian that he comes through Tzimtzum and he relates to Gvol. But Pnimius, that's Mitzad Amitis, a deeper Blik Vol which is expressed in the Erak Blik Vol. Means the fact that he could come in a Eifen without being Shelo the Metzias Elam is, that's because he's not limited to be Dafkin a Eifen of his Galus of Blik Vol, Shlilas HaMetzias. It can come in Metzias Eichen. Means the Eibishter's Achdus, the fact that his Ein Sof has no limits at all. So mitzad this Indian, he's kedel all miles. He could come in a way of negating everything. There's only him, or he could come in a way that there's everything, and the everything is also him. That's another expression of this pashtus holocaust. It's not a lower Indian. If the pshat is that the whole gather of Erak Vol, then it's not in a smokim to the gather of Vol. Then the whole nikud of Erak Vol is that mitzad amitis ablik Vol of holocaust. He doesn't have to come on a Eifena, which is mevatel the mitzias. There is a mitzias and there is gdarim und dort in gufe wird zechern as they der emesis as they inside. His spashtus is not limited to being an Eifen of shlilas mitzias. He could come also in an Eifen of being misgada through the mitzias. But that's not a lower target. The pnimi is it's not a lower target. It's fakert. It's the mitzvah ein sof of the air. The mele the pnimi is this air is not a different air than the ein sof. It says the air comes in the Eifen of Elam Haz. It's the Ein Sof, mitzad the fact that he's not mugbal to be dafka in the Eifen of Shlila, can Reichet come in the Welt. So it's not a different mahus. It's nicht kein ander mahus. Huh?
That's the pure Shema.
You say the Rebbe Maamar sometimes. So what's the wie versteht mit dem Musik? The same thing. There's a nes, which this nes is mevatel teva, and then there's the nes which is not mevatel teva. Purim was mulubish with teva. So as they learned, Purim is a lower target. The Blikvol itself is higher than Gvol. But you have the nest, it's not the Blikvol which relates to the gather of Vol. The MS is nicht as it. The MS is that there's only the Eibishter. Now, this because is that there's only him. How does, in order, the fact that there's only the Eibishter is expressed in the fact that there's nothing outside of him? Or even if there's something, the something is also going to say that there's only him. This Nikudah that there's only the Eibishter, and the Eibishter is Ein Sof. With was Bertnes Galo, that the Eibishter is Ein Sof, not that there's nothing else outside of it. That's in a way, that's verstandig. The Eibishter is Ein Sof, and Lehi HaMakom L'Midas Elims. There is a Welt, and Welt Guf is a keli to their hair, and that Hulavadi Uvein Zolas. Means the air is Nimshach in Gvul. That even in the Tzir of Gvul is also Kfiyah Emes, also Kfiyah Ein Sof. It's not a lower target. So the Pnimius of this air is the same Ein Sof, and there's no Shinuyim. The fact that he comes in from Gvul is not because he's Legabi him. There's a smoking to the Gvul. Legabi him, there's only the Eibishter. There's never a tisa smoking to anything outside of the Eibishter himself. What's come to the Gvul? That's because the Eibishter's Achdus has no limits, and all of it's saying that it should be expressed not by negating things, that there is things, and they themselves say in it Levad. They themselves, through them, is going to be expressed the emes of Ein Levad. So it's the same Ein Sof as the air. What's Sheikh Shini? Shini, if you say, is if there's degrees in how the Indian is made. You say, Elam Haz is a lower world than Atzilus. So Elam Haz is not so much of a keli that should be mayor the Ein Sof of Atzilus. That's the Shini. You have a lakus the way it's mayor in Atzilus. You have a lakus the way it's mayor in Elam Haz. If we say Be'etzim there's no Elam Haz and there's no Atzilus, there's an Eibishter which is Ein Sof. How is this Ein Sof going to be expressed? So how is it? There won't be Metzias. Or you say no. The Eibishter is not limited that his Ein Sof has to be in Eifim that there's nothing. There's everything. We're going to make Atzilus. We're going to make Biyah. What's the purpose of making Atzilus and Biyah? To bring out that the Eibishter's truth is not limited to be expressed dafka by saying that there's nothing. There is dargis and Zeh Alein on their hand did pnimius that there's only him. So the Mahos of Atzilus and the Mahos of Elam Haz is not two separate in Yonah. The Eir Leki of Elam Haz is the same Mahos Ein Sof as the Eir which is Meir and Atzilus. This is Eir. Zelba Mahos. The Poyel, the Merkabah halt is the right. Today, the people in the Hajj are not kalim for the Eir Atzilus. So, what are we masik? We're masik a lakus, we mir verstehen. That's the same lakud primus of Atzilus. What's the nivr ne'elam hazeh, but the emes of a lakus? The Eir is going to be Meir in his mitzias. It's the Eir relates to his mitzias, or because the Eibishter's Ein Sof is not limited in any Gdarim, and therefore he could be Meir even in a way that a Meir Gashmi can understand. So, what's being Meir in a Meir Gashmi? The Zalber Ein Sof of Elam Atzilus. The same lakud of Eir HaChachmat Atzilus is the area which is Meir in the Meir Gashmi. Zelben Mohos. Nicht mit zweitem Mohos.
That's like a Lashon of like who is over here. It's more the Rebbe speaks it in
Yeah,
the
so the
Lashon,
Lashon, because the Rebbe right away goes, behemshich to what the Friedrich Rebbe wants is saying this there with the Secher as a rein for in the Friedrich Rebbe's word. The Pearl, what's the Nekudah Taki? Why? What does the Rebbe say? The Gabi, the Mekabel, the Talmud is not Margish. The Rav sees in all the he sees even in the Seichel HaMetzumtzum, he sees the Seichel HaBlikul. Why does the Rebbe touches it? Why does he see the Seichel HaBlikul? Because by the Rav, that's State of Chassidus. The Pnimius, why is that the Rav is able to be Mamtzi, to be Masber Seichel even to Talmud? Because he doesn't have because his Seichel is not limited to be that kind of Seichel Dar. Das steht doch mit that Masker. The Pnim, and according to that beer, the same mohus, there's no chilukim in the Erakbo. It's the same mohus. We'll see it inside. We'll see it inside a little bit. But you get the idea in general. I think Samazay, Legabi, what the Rebbe seek. There's three none of Malad in Ketz. There is the Malad in Ketz, and the Ilu of the Earth that the Earth can be Vesalmas. That's the fact that the Earth can be an Eifin of Vesalmas. That shows that he's not Mugdar in the Gedder of Gili. And then there is the fact that you see the marshal of the Magid, the Erak Vol, is already the third Indian. But I'm saying the first Indian that Rebbe brings over here, that the Rebbe speaks three things. There's the Erak Blikvol, the Siluk, the Tzimtzum, and the Erak Blikvol, which is the figure reason for Maamar. Then there's the Baal Shem Tov, the Tzimtzum and the Erak Vol, the Helam Acher Helam. And then there is the Magid, that not even is not Shaykh, but the first beer that Rebbe brings here is Behessen to the Aliyah and the Erem, so the Etzem Inni that Kebibi is Amos. The fact that the Eir is Nimsa B'Kol Mokim, without relating to the Tziyurim of the Mokim, that brings out the Ein Sof of the Eir. How Gvul has no Tfisis Mokim, the Gabi the Eir. The Mele, his Mitzias is not dependent on the Hergish of the Mokim. Eir is Do B'Kol Mokim, Eir is Ein Sof. The second Indian that is that the Eir Gvul there's no Shinui, that's the word, okay, that's Shinish, this word is not going to, it's not Mamish, but that could be with the Dimitri Baal Shem Tov, that the Eir is Mislabish and Eisius, and Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet, and it's the same Mahus. That's an Ili Neisif in the air. That even the Eira Gvol, this Indian, that's a deeper musik of Blik Vol than the Eira Einsaf expresses. Means that's a deeper Indian. That even the Mitzias could be a Kelit Einsaf. It can measure them without being Shelo the Mitzias. That's a deeper Indian, a deeper Ali in the air than the Eira of Blik Vol Gufa. He's not mubal to the tzir of Pshittas, to the tzir of Bittel Eilins. They can stay in Eilins. Tell them, heard the minion. And then there's third Indian, we'll see the Magid, that's the. Huh? Scans then a Satan Earth. Where are we holding here? In a fish, he says, Marshal, that I have a Talmud, says, Shloime Chalvanas was the Chalvanas Talmud. This yes, it's a Talmud, yes, we misal Sechel Legam. Chaim, Mam to Sechel Talmud. Felix misal Sechel, and a fish doesn't Sechel, it's Lo Shesh Esther Sechel communicated. Like in the Shaykh Lamakavins, the Gabi the Rav is come a proton Chassidus, but the Gabi the Rav is Meir the ganze Emek Sechel. He's never not to know that the Gabi him he left. L'chura why? L'chura is there. He's preparing himself. Legabi the Rav, that's all that it's of his blikvul. The mekabel is nicht magisch. When again like kisha sheyesh, but the mekabel Rav. So that's what the Rav is a grace about seichel. That's hot to the mekabel. The fact that the Rav seichel is not limited, the mekabel is not magisch. That. Kima the kasha tzorch lam shchol gal seichel tamid. Ni mezeh seichel Rav begoli. Gam le seichel buli shubei. Hainu seichel berach tamid. Kmi shu Rav begoli. It means the Eira Gvul, the way it's in the Eira blikvul. But mashen kim mitzad the Rav. The Eira Gvul always stays one with the Eira Blikvul. Because it's always mitzad the Blikvul, the Seichel Arav. Asher zer nes navane, shegam mitzad the Eir Lishanis. Sharashin eni be'er. Kima shechoser mekabel sheberach lekabel Eira Navu. Eina and Zashi Begoli. Are you going to say, but l'chur it's the Eira Gvul? What's the Eira Gvul? It comes to fi Eirach the Mitzvah v'shtalshalis. So l'chur the Zavzan Shanim. The Pnimis nishtazeh. The Pnimis are derech the marshal of Seichel Arav Talmud, that the reason why the Rav is seizing the Seichel HaMetzumtzum, the ganze Seichel HaBlikvul, because the Amitas Indian is the fact that he's able to be mamtzi. The fact that if the Seichel HaTalmud is be'erech, so you could say, he doesn't need a tzimtzum derech silik, then the pshat is, we can the Rav, the Chur is a sach tifra from the Talmud. he's able to relate himself also to the Talmud. But the fact that the Seichel Talmud is Shalei Be'erech lower than him, Shalei Be'erech lower, so how could he find a way to bring out his word that should be behesed to the Seichel Talmud? Because his Seichel Arav, that's a deeper bleak vol in the Seichel Arav. It's a deeper bleak vol in the Seichel Arav, so B'amitis HaMahus, the Seichel Talmud is the same Ein Sof as the Seichel Arav. So that's the beer why there's no Shini in the Erak vol.